Today, we're installing HOSS 3 Fox coilovers on our 2021 Bronco. Now, this isn't just any Bronco, oh no. This is a two-door Ford Bronco Badlands on portals. Now, before I dive too deep into the this versus that argument, I'm gonna try to keep this video somewhat simple, so I'm going to rely on you guys to help plan the follow-up video. After this video, drop any questions you have about this setup, and we will make an entire video dedicated to this video's comment section. With that said, we are going to address three things in today's video. What is HOSS 3.0 suspension? What are portals? And why have we taken a perfectly good stock Bronco Badlands and turned it into this Bronco Megalodon? That last question is actually pretty easy to answer. It's because this is America and real Americans drive big lifted trucks. They also wear overalls, which I've never been too into, if I'm being completely honest, but to each their own. For those of you new to the channel, let's start off with the why. This company was practically founded off-road. Decades before early Broncos were selling for $250,000, our fearless leader, Chief Wild Horse, and his wife built this company's reputation for building quality parts and having second-to-none customer service. Our chief did everything in his power to test our parts off-road, travel in the country, gaining the trust of Bronco owners across the nation. Fast forward 30 years and that off-road bug has never quite left. Now, with the new Bronco sweeping the country, we couldn't help but snag a few to see what they were all about. And rather than keep them stock, we basically decided to throw warranty out the window and start modding our rigs with the mission to be the most capable we could be on the trail.
How do you feel at this moment?
Like a madman.
As some of you know, this has led to many discoveries of weaknesses in the Bronco's design, but up to this point, the fun has been worth it. I'm not even gonna lie, I've been looking at every single door to the shop, making sure that no one's been peering in, watching me as I have done this, because I am personally embarrassed with myself. I'll be completely honest. I broke a sweat and everything. Like, back to the question, why not leave a perfectly decent Bronco in decent condition? Well, to put it simply, that's just not what we do here at Wild Horses 4x4. I mean, heck, it's in our name. We love wild. Now, don't get me wrong, we love everything, but our rigs are typically going to sway as far to the wild side as they can.
I'm wild! I'm wild! Ah!
And that's why we took a perfectly good stock two-door Bronco Badlands, threw some portals on it, and now we're swapping in what is supposedly some of the most advanced suspension available from the factory for the Ford Bronco. Anything else to add to that, Chief Wild Horse?
So one thing that I'm particularly interested in is how stuff works and feels to the individual customer. In this case, the customer is me. So I have now driven on this Badlands Sasquatch suspension two-door 2021 Bronco for 20,000 miles, somewhere in that range. I now know how it feels like with the portals. So we're doing the HOSS 3 Fox shocks, which are substantial in comparison to the Sasquatches, and I want to know how that feels. That's why we're doing this particular step. And of course, we build our stuff to crawl over rocks, so that's part of what's going on here. Back to you, Mitch.
Only time will tell if what we're doing will actually make these better at crawling over the rocks.
One can only hope.
Okay, so on to our next question. What is HOSS 3.0 suspension? HOSS 3.0 suspension comes standard on all Wild Track Edition Broncos years 2023 and up. Now, it was available on some 22s, but we're not even gonna get into that because that's where it gets a little foggy. Essentially, HOSS 3.0 suspension is an internal bypass Fox coilover. Now, we are going to be discussing the differences between the HOSS 3.0 suspension and the HOSS 2.0 suspension in just a minute, but before we do, I do want to point out that these are pull-offs from a job we did a few months back where the customer wanted to run some Kings. So we made a trade, and now we're going to see how these Fox coilovers do on this thing. Now here's where we get nerdy. When we compare the Sasquatch Bilstein coilovers to the Fox coilovers, we see some key differences right off the bat. When comparing the front struts, we see differences in the shock bodies and coil springs. However, the overall lengths are surprisingly the same. One thing to point out about the Bilsteins is we do have a 2¼ inch perch collar installed on both the front and rear, so that explains the length similarity. The rear struts are very close in length, but also differ when it comes to shock body and coil spring diameters. But what do these numbers mean? If our understanding is solid, these Fox coilovers should definitely provide a better performance overall and have a softer ride. Only time on the trail will tell whether that is the case or not. Now, with that said, people have been swarming the forums asking if they can get these directly from Ford dealerships. And as far as I can tell, you can, but take that with a grain of salt. Forums, at least for me, have always been a little murky because there's a million different opinions going on. But I'll link a couple of good ones down below that were helpful to me. You guys can check them out, do your own research, and figure out the best route to go. With that said, the last question to answer is what the heck are portals? Now, some of you guys are familiar with the off-road scene. You know that these have been around for a few years now, getting heavily abused in a lot of the desert races and such. They've been put to the test. They're a great performing product, but that doesn't really help explain how they work. So, fair warning, I'm gonna try to go through it, but this is probably not going to make a bunch of sense as I am not the most technical speaker when it comes to some of this stuff. I'm sure an engineer could walk you through it a lot better. Or you could start talking and make absolutely no sense. Nerd, 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 nerd. So I'm gonna try to dumb it down because that's the best that I've got for you guys. So, we're gonna start off with the basics. As with any stock Bronco, you've got your half shaft. Now normally, the half shaft goes through the knuckle, connects to your spindle or your hub or whatever you wanna call it, which connects to your rotor, which spins the wheel. That's your basic setup. With this portal, what happens is now this half shaft goes through your knuckle into the portal box, and in this box you have, we're gonna call it 2 gears just for simplicity's sake. There's a little bit more going on in here, but we're just gonna think of 2 gears, one on the top and one on the bottom, okay? One on the top, one on the bottom. When that half shaft spins that upper gear, that ends up spinning the lower gear, and that is actually now where your rotor is mounted to, and hence your wheel is mounted. So that's where you get that increase in height that is the main selling point for these portals. That's also where you get some re-gearing and things like that. But that's what's going on in this box. So if that made any sense, sweet. If not, I'm gonna pull my, my super artsy drawing that I did so we can kind of visualize it a little bit more. 1 second. Okay, class, again, upper gear, lower gear. When the half shaft spins the upper gear, that spins the lower gear, which is what your wheel is connected to. So, half shaft goes into the box, spins the upper gear, spins the lower gear, which also has a splined deal going through the box, to your hub, rotor, spindle setup, causing the wheel to spin. That is probably the best explanation that I can give you guys. I really can't do much better than that. I think that made sense. I think I did all right. If not, let me know down in the comments what didn't make sense, and maybe we'll get someone a little bit more technical to explain what's going on with a portal and how it all works and functions. The important thing to remember is what this is used for, and that's mainly the massive amounts of ground clearance that you're getting, that re-gearing, and also a few other benefits of this portal. Now, I'm not gonna lie, while these do measure up to be quite a hefty price, we're gonna figure out if the benefits are worth it. Again, you can't beat ground clearance when you do what we do, which is rock crawling. Now that we've got these guys on, now that we've got this HOSS 3 suspension, we're gonna do what we do, go out and hit the trails and see how these things do off-road. With that said, we do have some videos coming out where we did take this whole setup to Sand Hollow, the United by Bronco event. We took this thing on some good trails. We're working on that video now. So again, drop those questions and we'll see if we can work those into that video. And one more thing, if you're more confused than you were at the beginning, I do apologize. I think I confused myself a little bit, to be honest, but you know. Anyways, guys, we're gonna go ahead and bring this in for a landing, but before we do, there are a couple of questions that I want to answer because they may come up. So for starters, we are using portals from a company called Tibus. They've got some great engineers over there. This is a great product. We are currently working on getting these available on our website, but they are not there yet. So if you go to our website, you're not going to see them. But if you are interested in a set, go ahead and shoot us a call or an email, ask for Mitch, and I'll give you answers to any of the questions that you guys have about getting these set up. We are getting the Beef Factory set up to do these portal installs. So again, if that's a route that you guys want to explore for pricing and all of that, go ahead and shoot us a phone call, ask for Mitch, and we'll get you guys taken care of. With that said, that is a wrap to this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you guys found it entertaining and helpful. And let us know what you guys think. Are portals a viable option for rock crawling? We sure as heck are gonna find out. You guys know that we're gonna put these to the test. Like I said, we are working on a video right now where we've taken this thing off-road, but I'm not gonna tell you how they did quite yet. We're gonna wait for that video to come out, so stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe if you're not already. Become one of the horsemen. We would love to have you. And with all of that being said, we'll see you guys out there on the trail. Peace!